Morning, guys. So I haven't been able to post any videos or do any lives because I have been rebuilding the engine on my classic car. I'm going to quickly show you where I am today. See, look. So at the moment, I'm going to lap the valves. See that? I'll take one out. And that's my job today, sorting out this head on this 1967 split screen. So that has literally taken me the whole week, and I'm only halfway through. So I will be posting some more videos as soon as I get that engine finished, get it back in the classic camper, and then I can get back to doing what I love, which is posting videos and doing lives. So wherever you're watching, I know that if it's America, that you're all asleep probably. But in the UK, it's 7:23 a.m. Just so you know, my name is Louis. I'm 56, 57 in July, and I'm a lifelong Elvis fan. And I'm very passionate about anything to do with Elvis. And today's subject is two things: the book Child Bride and the comments I'm still getting about Priscilla using the Presley name and being buried at Gracelands. So good morning to you guys. If any of you want to message and say hello, go ahead. I'm in Southwest UK. So I don't know loads about the Child Bride book. I'm gonna read some stuff off that's on the internet, plus I'll say what I know. And I haven't read it page to page. I know quite a lot of it, but not page to page. So let me just say some basics. And if any of you are unaware of Child, it's basically, let's get her name up a minute. Different account of how Priscilla Bulow met Elvis back in Germany in 1959, and it involves a guy called Cary Grant, who was one of Elvis's friends that hung out with him in Germany, and how he introduced her to Elvis. And it's a different account of what she wrote in her book Elvis and Me. I think she didn't say his name in the book. She called him Kurt. And it's quite innocent that from her version of things that Cary Grant approached her and said, look, I can introduce you to Elvis. Do you want to meet him? And she acted as if she was like not a fan of Elvis. But with the parents' agreement, Cary Grant introduced her to Elvis. But then you've got a different recollection from the author, what's her name, who has done hundreds of interviews. And her name is, let's have a look, Suzanne Finstad. And I think there's quite a few interviews on YouTube with Suzanne Finstad. But it's funny because, good morning, KS. I hope you're well. Are you, just remind me where you're from again. Is it Australia? I can't remember. So I wanted to talk about Child Bride because I keep getting loads of messages. So I'll just read this bit. Child Bride, the untold story of Priscilla Bulow Presley in a book written by Suzanne Finstad in 1997. I didn't realize that book was that old. Is that correct? It's an account of Priscilla Presley's life, which differs from her own account in her book, Elvis and Me. I just wanted to comment on that. So the Child Bride book has been a massive success and has a massive reaction. I remember it was Australia. Hope you're well. All my family are asleep, so I've sneaked down to do a video before they all wake up. I'm hoping they're going to be asleep for a bit longer. But if my children just suddenly appear, it's going to be a bit of a problem. So I just want to say this about the Child Bride book, and that is why has the book done so well? Why are so many fans talking about this Child Bride book, about this alternative version of how Priscilla met Elvis, and that it had been pre-planned, and Cary Grant, that she approached Cary Grant and asked him if he would introduce her to Elvis, and Cary Grant was blown away by how beautiful Priscilla was, and I think he was about 25, and he was married with 2 kids, but he was infatuated with Priscilla, and he set about with this plan where he, without sounding too crude, he wanted to sleep with Priscilla. I know she was only 14, so that in itself is just so wrong to me, that he was married with kids, and he had this intention of, by helping Priscilla meet Elvis and giving her the advice that she needed to get him to like her and fall for her, that the trade was they would have sex. Now, don't forget, I am not saying that this book is true. Definitely not. I'm not saying it's not true. I am going to sit on the fence, and I'm just going to give you an unbiased opinion on my views on this book. A lot of the things that are being said seem very out there, seem extreme. So I haven't wrapped my head around it properly yet. So in theory, from the Child Bride book, she was a massive Elvis fan, and so was her mother. And she was brought up in Texas, Priscilla was. But see, Priscilla has always tried to make out as if she wasn't really that much of a fan of Elvis. So what I'm trying to say about the Child Bride book is, I think the reason it's done so well, and it's in many of my comments, it's everywhere, is because people are unhappy with the interviews that Priscilla Presley has always given, going right back to the 80s. And she's painted this picture that she was just this sweet, innocent virgin that was in Germany, that got introduced to Elvis, and then once things took off with her and Elvis, that he completely controlled her, and which I don't agree with. I do not agree that someone giving you advice on how you dress and do your makeup and do your hair means you're controlling. It's just someone giving you advice, someone who's got a sense of style and fashion. So this thing where he come along and created her like a doll, I don't agree with it. I think she was a strong-minded young lady, and she had her own sense of herself. And yes, she asked advice on different ways to dress, and she wanted to look older and wear makeup and look, which they all do at that age, 14, 15, 16. They want the young girls. I've got a daughter, and they want to look older. They do. It doesn't mean that the person giving advice is controlling. So I hate it when Elvis is made out to be this controlling person that forced Priscilla how to dress, forced her how to do her makeup, forced her how to do her hair, forced her how to think. It's just not true. Yes, he was massively influential, just like any boyfriend would be to any girl. So this is what I think it is with the Elvis fans around the world. They watch all these interviews, and the stories don't match up. So Priscilla is asked many questions about when she first met Elvis, and the time when she waited for him when he went back to back to America in 1960. I think there was nearly a 2-year gap. Yes, of course you can ask. Of course, you go ahead. I've got all morning. So I just think there's so many discrepancies in the interviews. It makes people think the book Child Bride may be true. I think they're thinking, finally, we've got a book that tells the truth about Priscilla. Because don't forget, there's a lot of anger and upset about Priscilla. Many of the things that she says, people do not believe. Many of the interviews Priscilla gave in the early years have upset a lot of people. Right. Now, I know that Priscilla also says a lot of good. When I've watched all of her interviews I can find, and she praises Elvis all the time. She's constantly giving him praise. But then she'll throw in oh, he was unfaithful, he was controlling, and yeah, he had a bad temper. Or I was only 14, I hadn't grown up, I hadn't matured, I hadn't found myself. I didn't have my own sense of self, I didn't have my own life. She throws all these bits in. And I just think people don't trust Priscilla. They think that she's lying and twisting the truth, and she keeps changing her stories. And I think this is why people look at the book Child Bride and think, is it true? And they really believe it. People really believe every word of this book. And I actually don't agree. I think there's many things that I've read in the Child Bride book that I just seem too much over the top. And I do see that Priscilla also praises Elvis a lot. I'm not a Priscilla hater. I do see her point of view on many things, but I also completely understand why fans are upset with Priscilla because of financial things, because of her unfaithfulness, because of lots of things that went on between her and Elvis. And even with the divorce settlement, I've read that out on one of my live videos. It was intense. It was like she really went for the jugular on the divorce settlement because she went back again, and I don't like it. So I understand why fans are upset. Do you agree with Priscilla's parents allowing her Graceland? Perhaps this may support some of the theories in this book. Her mother and her were fans. Well, let me just read that again. Do you agree with Priscilla's parents allowing her to Graceland? Perhaps this may support some theories in the book. Her mother and her were Elvis fans. Right. Yeah. Now, I'm going to go through the book in a minute. But yes, I know that the parents were Elvis fans, especially the mother. And it's a big question. Do I agree that the parents should allow a 14-year-old girl? Well, no, actually, they were 14 when they met. By the time she went to Graceland, I'm sure she was just about to turn 17. Do you agree with that? And please let me know. But I'm pretty sure she was 17 when she went to Graceland. So now, yeah, don't worry. But I'm pretty sure she was 17 when she went to Graceland. Now, we have to take ourselves back in time. The 1950s were very different. And even the late 50s and the 60s. I would say even in the 70s. I'm 57 in a few months. It wasn't unusual for a man to marry a 16-year-old girl because men in the 50s and 60s wanted an innocent virgin. I know that sounds a bit crude now, but we have to travel back in time, and that generation, men wanted a young girl that was untouched, innocent, that hadn't been around. So for a man to like a girl that was around that 16 age, not 14 or 15, I'm talking 16 and up, in the 1950s was completely normal. So we have to bring that in. Yeah. So do I think that Priscilla's parents, don't forget one of them, her father was just her stepfather. So I think, I'm guessing, because I wasn't there, that Priscilla would have gave her parents an absolute nightmare daily, begging them to allow her to go to Graceland. Now, bearing in mind, Elvis has gone for I think 18 months to 2 years after he left Germany, because obviously he came back to America. He did the Frank Sinatra special, Coming Home Elvis. Then he did GI Blues, the film, and then he made 2 albums at RCA Victor, all very quickly. So he suddenly was propelled back into the limelight, and GI Blues was a massive success, and his Coming Home, his first 2 albums were massive. So he sort of forgot about Priscilla. We know he was he seeing Anita Wood as well at that point, but probably other people as well. So she was begging her parents, please let me go to Graceland. And she was sending these letters that were in pink to Elvis regularly, and also records to Elvis. And she really kept the fires burning to try and keep him interested. Yeah. So if my in 1950, if my daughter that was over 16 was begging me to go and see Elvis, and Elvis wanted to see her as well, because Elvis did eventually want to see Priscilla, and he offered to get her through her education, and said they'd live in separate bedrooms and that. And it's Elvis, who is a superstar, extremely wealthy. I think in 1950, I would definitely consider allowing her at the age of nearly 17 to go to America, even if it was 16. I think I would consider it, because this is a life-changing opportunity for Priscilla, and not just financially, but this is putting her in a beautiful home. She having everything she could ever want, all her dreams coming true with the man she loved. And Elvis obviously was, forget just being talented, was so handsome and so charming and so friendly that I completely see how he won over the parents. I get it. They fell in love with Elvis. And I think the Child Bride book can be quite cold, where it comes across that everything was manipulative and pre-planned, and it was all about the money and the fame and getting Elvis to pay for everything and pay debts, pay mortgages. And it was, I can't completely agree with that, because the bottom line is she was infatuated with him. She had fallen head over heels with him. Now, was it proper true love when they met? Probably not. She's very young. She's probably very infatuated. I think even with Elvis, I think he was smitten with this girl that he did feel that he could mold, and which I think is pretty common in the 1950s, 1960s. It probably would have been early 1960s when she came over, and she was stunningly beautiful, even though she was very young, and she was different than the starlet, than the Hollywood girls. And Elvis didn't want a career-minded girl. He didn't want an ambitious girl that just wanted to put her work first and put him second. He wanted a sweet, innocent girl that he felt he could trust, that and that they could grow together as a couple. But then obviously he was in this, he would keep going back to his world of obviously making music, making movies. And there was a massive dilemma, because we know that Elvis had a soft spot for beautiful women. And when he was with Priscilla, he was fine. Then he'd go off with the Memphis Mafia and make his movies, make his songs, and he just couldn't control himself. The temptation was much, much too strong for any man. I think any man in those circumstances. But then he would get fed up with the starlets. We all know about the Margaret affair, and he would just feel that he didn't see his future with a starlet, with a famous film star, a career-minded woman, a woman that was like him, really, that was super interested in their own career. He wanted someone much more simple. He obviously liked the Memphis girls, like who can I say, like Linda Thompson and Ginger Alden. They were just sort of good religious girls with their feet on the ground. Yes, they were beautiful, but they had simple ways. They were religious girls. He obviously was a really serious religious man, a good Christian, a God-fearing man. So he had a dilemma. He wanted the real decent, down-to-earth home girl, but then he would go off and meet these super talented, super beautiful, stunning girls throwing themselves at him. So, yeah, thanks. Yeah, I just think it was a different time. My main growing up was the 70s, and it was very old-fashioned in the 70s. Very old-fashioned. The man was the money maker. The man brought home the wages. And, you know, in those days, the parents hit their children a lot. It was just normal. You would even get hit at school, yeah, in the 70s. I got hit. I was caned and hit at school. It was just a different world. Yeah? So when we talk about the age gap between Elvis and Priscilla, it was irrelevant in the 60s and the 50s. Yeah, if we try and bring the rules of today, because obviously now it's completely unacceptable for a 24-year-old man to date a 16-year-old girl, but not then. So it's not. I don't think it's fair to give the same rulings today as it was all those years ago. Not far off 50 years ago. So. Anyway, let's talk about the book a little bit. Now, I'm no expert on this book. I'm just going to read what I know. So I'm going to just go through some comments on Google. So Child Bride, The Untold Story of Priscilla Buelow, is a book written by Suzanne Finstad. So it actually is 1997. I don't know why I thought it was written much later than that. Is this right? All right, okay, so you must be in your well, I'm 57 soon. So are you quite 50 yet? So that's just, is that a rude question? Right, let's go. Let's look at the few things I found quickly, and then I'm going to start reading some other bits. So I know with the Child Bride book, that Suzanne Finstad interviewed many people, and Cary Grant was just one of the people who was a small part of her book. Even though the book I see how he's quite pivotal in this book. And Priscilla, when the book came out, I think Priscilla did file a lawsuit for defamation, I think it was. Let's see if I can find it. Let's have a look. And I think she won the lawsuit against Cary Grant. I think she was awarded $75,000, but in the end, it was secretly agreed that he didn't have to pay. He doesn't have any money. That he didn't. 51's female. 50 is the new 30. On this keto carnivore diet, and I aging. So basically, eating a lot more meat, a lot less carbs, stopping sugar, pasta, rice, potatoes, and bread. Stopping those 4 things, I felt it's helped me get slimmer and younger, feel healthier. So that's just one of the other things I do. It's called the carnivore diet. You look it up on YouTube. So anyway, so I think they secretly agreed he wouldn't have to pay the $75,000 as long as he kept his mouth shut. This is actually, there's a picture of him there. Let's have a look. Let me show you a picture of him today. Actually, a video of him even better. Oh, it's not gonna. Let's have a look. Come on. Let's get it up. I don't actually even know if he's still alive. I know he's very elderly. Quickly there before it goes. No, it's not going to go. Whereas I'm going to do a video, Cary Grant. All right, let's just get it out. Actually, if I just type it in, let's have a look. And I want to go through these comments first before I type it in. So let's see the lawsuit. Right, here we are. Priscilla won a defamation lawsuit against Cary Grant for his claim in this book, but interestingly, never sued Suzanne Finstad or the publisher. So she obviously went for Cary Grant. And right, is the child bride a true story? As noted in the introductory author's notes to Child Bride, the writing of the book led to openings of a Pandora's box. So yeah, so suddenly the Elvis fans are finding out loads of information, and it's like an aha moment for the fans that are anti-Priscilla. They're like, now it all makes sense. You've been lying for the last 35, 40 years. I told you so. It's a bit of that. It's a bit of, I told you so. Look, Child Bride book has now proven to us that you are two-faced, you are lying. So I think that's exactly why the Child Bride book is doing so well and has done so well. Now, that doesn't mean that the Child Bride book is true and correct and isn't misleading us and twisting the truth. But she does make it clear, the author, that she interviewed 100 people, she says, and that Cary Grant's interview was quite a small part of it. So let's see. So what I'm going to do, I mean, anyone watching that watches this later, please let me know what your views are of the Child Bride book. Do you believe the Child Bride book? Or do you think it's just fantasy? But I'd be really interested to know. Let's have a look. Right. Why did Priscilla... No, we've read that. Right. Child Bride, the definitive biography of Priscilla Buelow Presley, unveils the controversial woman who evolved from a lonely teenager bound to the king of rock and roll in a shrewd businesswoman in control of the multi-million-dollar Elvis empire, a rags to riches saga of secret lies and betrayal. Yeah, and actually, that book would make a great movie, a really good movie, because going right back to 1959 and then the so-called plot to get Elvis and then everything that happened after that. Because there's a lot of details in this book, and Cary Grant goes into quite a lot of sexual detail with him and Priscilla, which, to be honest with you, if he was 25, married, 2 kids, and he was having sex with a 14-year-old, isn't that statutory rape? Isn't that some kind of rape? It's definitely wrong. And the fact that he proudly admits it in the book, well, he's got questions to answer, surely, don't you think? Surely that isn't right. The fact that he's allowed to put this in a book makes me wonder. Right, let's have a look. Let me just... I'll click on Amazon and see what they say about the book. Obviously, we know the Child Bride book. Now, I didn't know about the Child Bride book until it kept getting brought up to me by the comments. I was getting so many comments from my subscribers that I just was sort of forced to learn about. Because at first, when I first found out about Child Bride book, I thought it was ridiculous. Right, let's have a look. Fascinated, Finstad's, that's the author, research and her analysis of Priscilla's complex character make for a riveting read. That's from the New York Post. The real story. Now, I've got a dilemma with that. They're saying the real story, but we don't know, do we? We don't know if this is truth. Of Elvis and Priscilla is infinitely more powerful than the myth and the ultimately tragic. The true story, more complex. Priscilla Buelow Presley is not and never was a fragile, demure child woman. She has come to personify. She is, in a word, a survivor, a woman of indomitable and with almost frightening determination from the author's note. So the author actually says that. So they're really gunning for Priscilla here. They're really like, wow, this was like pre-planned. So And if it's true, wow, if it's true. But you tell me, guys, what you think. Anyway, Child Bride reveals the hidden story of rock icon Elvis Presley's affair with 14-year-old Priscilla Buelow. The ninth grade he wooed as a GI in Germany and cloistered at Graceland before marrying her to fulfill a promise to her starstruck parents. But who is Priscilla and what was her role in the infamous relationship? Now, I think in the book it says that they definitely did have sex when she was 14. Now, I think it's known that things happened, but what we're told by Priscilla is that yes, there was kissing, but there was never sex. She didn't have sex with him until the night of the wedding, but the Child Bride book is basically saying yes, they did have sex. So you have to say what you think, guys. If you think they did or not, you don't have to say anything. But an award-winning biographer, Suzanne Finstad, perceptively pieces together the clues from candid interviews with all the Presley intimates, including Priscilla herself. Yes, and that's the other thing. I watched this. Priscilla actually did have interviews with Suzanne Finstad and even went to her house for dinner. So Priscilla was, according to Suzanne Finstad, was actually quite open and honest, and in an odd way helped make this book. Now, I don't think Priscilla thought this book was going to turn out the way it did, and do I think she was expecting the reaction this book got? Probably not. So it included candid interviews with all the Presley's intimates, including Priscilla herself, along with hundreds of sources who have never been spoken to publicly, to uncover the truth behind the legend and Elvis and Priscilla and the tumultuous tale of sexual attraction and obsession, heartbreak and loss. So part of this is that Cary Grant, the guy who supposedly introduced Priscilla to Elvis, was obsessed with Priscilla and he wanted to get his way. He wanted to, it basically was infatuated with her and maybe had even fallen in love with Priscilla. Child Bride, the definitive biography of Priscilla Buelow Presley, unveils the controversial woman who evolved from a lonely teenager bound to the king of rock and roll into a shrewd businesswoman in control. All right, it's just sort of saying what I've already read. So I think you get the gist just from that post on Amazon that they're basically saying, we know the truth. Buy this book. Find out the truth. I'm just going to click on different things and see what comes up. Let's have a look. Right. All right, so this is one of the people called Anne's story. And this is from, I think this, let's just read it. This is Anne's who, no. Anne's her middle name. In March 1963, Priscilla Ann Buelow was at the crossroads of her life. Through just 17, a senior in high school, she was faced with a decision that she knew, with a child's wisdom, would forever alter the course of her destiny, and she had a strange foreboding. She was desperately in love, as only a teenager can be, forbidden love, locked in conflict with her parents, especially her mother, Ann Buelow. Elvis Presley, the 28-year-old rock star. So he would have been 28 by the time she gets to 17. The 28-year-old rock star idol and movie star, the most famous sex symbol in the world, held the 17-year-old in the thrall and wanted her to move into compound in Memphis as his girlfriend in waiting while she finished high school and came of age. But Elvis was not the object of Priscilla Buellow's teenage fancy that fateful spring. She was breathless over the handsome 18-year-old star of her high school football team. She did not want to leave her in Germany for a dubious future with a rock star. It was Anne Buellow, her mother, who was obsessed with the idea of Priscilla moving to Graceland to become de facto child bride. Now, so this is obviously a section from the book. So they're basically saying that Priscilla at 18, Priscilla was in love with an 18-year-old football star at high school, and that Priscilla's mother, Anne, who was also a massive Elvis fan, really basically almost forced Priscilla to go to Graceland because they saw it as a massive opportunity. Both mother and daughter feared that Priscilla might be making the greatest mistake of her life. Priscilla, if she went to Graceland, and if she stayed in the end. Priscilla deferred to her mother as she habitually did. She packed her bags for Graceland and barely a goodbye to the boy she left behind. Now, do you believe that, guys? Do you believe that Priscilla was in love with her 18-year-old footballer when she was 17? And that Anne had forced her to move to Graceland? Or do you believe the version we are told about, that she was besotted with Elvis and was missing him and was sending him love letters and records because she would send him letters, and that she couldn't stop thinking about him and she just sat there for 18 months waiting for him to call her, and that when she first moved to Graceland, she was so happy to be with him? And or do you believe this version? It's a tall story, guys. A tall story. Anyway, Anne, they keep calling her Anne, but it's Priscilla, isn't it? Her famous daughter. Oh no, Anne is the mum. Come on, right, I'm getting my facts mixed up here. So Anne, the mother, as would her famous daughter, began life with a different name, Anna Lillian Inversion. As a child, she was called Rooney for short. Annie Rooney. So I think they're talking about the mum, where the nickname came from, possibly a 1920s cartoon character. The Inversons would not reveal to the outsiders they were Norwegians who considered the most trivial family detail, personal and private. Anne's family history, they still maintain, is nobody else's business outside the family. And even to Anne, it is a forbidden topic. Okay, well, I don't really want to read about Anne. So I'm guessing that the book Child Bride really goes into Anne, trying to explain why she was the way she was. I'm going to scan through this. There's a lot talking about Anne. Let's have a look. Come on, let's get to the Priscilla bit. God, this is very long-winded. Sorry, guys. Okay, then all right, so then it stops. Anyway, well, okay, that gives us a little glimpse of the book. I still want to keep looking. Let's have a look. I'm going to read some. I'm just doing a live. So he had become a successful artist, famous for $1 million portraits. He had painted Michael Jackson. Oh, hang on, that's not it. No, let's go back. Untold story. Here we go. I hear something. Hi, you okay? My son is awake. Here we go. Tino, let me just sort my son out and I'll come back, carry on reading that. Right. Morning to you. Right. Can you do it? Can you just do it quietly? Is that okay? Da, 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 da. Do you have a nice sleep? Say hello to the people on the PC. Tino is 4 years old. Hang on. Right, I've got to keep it quiet. There you go. I'm going to warm my coffee up as well. Oh, that's it. So just a minute, guys, while I make a coffee. I want to try and read some more of that child bride book. Right, coffee's coming, yeah. Okay, you finished? All right, then, the joys of parenthood. Let's get with coffee. Bit of milk and coffee. Well, if anyone's listening, I hope you're having a nice morning. Can you let me know what time it is? Where you are, guys? Okay. Okay, nice to have a coffee in the morning, I think. So I'm in southwest UK, and I'm near Bristol. And the weather here is a bit rainy. Okay. Are you please able to read the part where Priscilla attends the author's home and admits to the matter reference Cary Grant? I'm not sure if I can find that, but I know that she does admit to, in the Elvis and Me book, she uses the word Kurt as the name, yeah? I know she clearly admits meeting Cary Grant and the introduction. She clearly admits that. But does she admit that, right, have you finished? Does she admit that the stuff that's in the book Child Bride? I don't think so, but Priscilla attends the author's. Yes, I know that. Yes, I know that Priscilla attended the author's home. Yes, and more than once. I think they met quite a few times. I think the author was actually quite surprised how forthcoming Priscilla was. Let me just read this bit. You could say that the fans placed Elvis Presley, the most famous GI in Germany, and the fate too played a role in Priscilla Bueller's family transfer to the same country in the same year. That's where fate leads off and sheer resolve takes over as a beautiful 14-year-old girl determined to meet the 26-year-old king of rock and roll, and the rest is truly history. Child Bride is the never-before-told story of Elvis's love affair and Priscilla Bueller Presley, the only woman he ever married. For the first time, award author and nihilist journalist Suzanne Finstad tells the intimate behind-the-scenes story of Elvis and Priscilla's life together, the tumultuous, captivating tale. So I think I've already read that. Okay, let's scroll through. Let's see if it's going to give us anything else. All right. So, family secret of Priscilla's real father. Why Elvis was magnetically drawn to Priscilla Bueller at first glance, and the bonds that bound them. All right, just 1 second. Okay, right, sorry about that. He's off to mummy. So the reason I'm doing this video early now, quickly, is because I'm working on the car all day. Lisa Marie was born when Priscilla was 22. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you, Hazel. Where are you from, Hazel? Nice to meet you. I'm Louis. So let's have a look. So the reason for Elvis's fascination with teenage girls and his sexual secrets, the truth behind the famous photos of Priscilla waving farewell to the Elvis in Germany. Well, we all know about that. Loads of footage on YouTube and pictures. And so that'll be interesting to see their take on what went on there. How Priscilla was betrayed by the men in her life, one of whom fell in love with her daughter, Lisa. Now, I've heard about that. Is that Mike Edwards, the male model? And he's written a book as well. I think I've got that book. It's got a blue cover, Mike Edwards. That was quite an interesting read, that was. How Michael Jackson and Lisa Presley really met and why they became involved. Okay. Let's keep looking. I'm finding this quite interesting. Child bride quotes. Now, part of the reason I'm doing this video, guys, is so that you, as Elvis fans and subscribers and new people to my channel, I want your comments on what you think about the book Child Bride. Do you agree with it? Do you think it's a load of rubbish? Or is some of it true? Or you tell me, because I'm learning. What is the book trying to achieve? I'm in London, UK. The book is a pile of crap. Sorry, but Priscilla herself said Elvis never took advantage of her. Hello, London. So I just want you to know the reason I'm doing this live isn't because I agree with the book. I actually think a lot of the things in this book sound ridiculous. Yeah. But I run an Elvis channel. I worship Elvis. And I like to give a broad, fair view of anything Elvis. And I think there's a lot of people who absolutely worship Priscilla. And there's a lot of people who are very upset with Priscilla and angry and have very passionate views on Priscilla. And I'm trying to give them as much information as I can just by chatting with them, and so that then people can comment on my live streams or on my video clips and tell me their views. What I'm trying to do is get your views to me, and then what I've noticed with the comments is you're all talking to each other on the comments, and yes, you're arguing with each other and you're disagreeing with each other, and you're all very passionate and saying your views on every subject, not just the Child Bride book. And I learn loads from your comments. Your comments are amazing. The comments I get on my channel, I'm so lucky I get these comments, and I want you guys to really thrash it out in the comments so that I can learn, so you can learn. So this isn't I support Child Bride book live stream. It's not that at all. I'm just talking about it. Then you guys tell me, and I can see, Hazel, that you don't like the Child Bride book, and you think what is the point, and everything in it is bullshit. Yeah, do you agree with that? So I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you at all. Yeah. So please do not think I'm against Priscilla. I'm not. I've got strong views about Priscilla. I've got strong views about Elvis, but I'm not against them. Right, okay. Obviously, my loyalties are with Elvis. They always will be. Right, let's have a look at this, see what comes up. Now, I'm doing this as I go, yeah? I think any Elvis fan such as myself wouldn't go near that book. Right. And this is what I learned from the comments, that if you are a Priscilla fan, you will hate that book. You'll absolutely hate that book. But if you're an Elvis fan that is very upset with Priscilla for many reasons, yeah, because many Elvis fans are upset that many things have been said by Priscilla, especially in the old interviews in the 80s and the 90s and the noughties. Let me just let the dog out. I think many Elvis fans are upset with Priscilla, and they will look at this book as a way of going, aha, I told you so. Let's let the dog out a minute. Oh, the dogs are waking up as well. All right, come on then. I have 2 Jack Russells. You just woke up. In you go. You go to the toilet. And Hazel, as I was saying, look, I understand you say I think any Elvis fan, but I can't agree with you, because I know that thousands and thousands of the Elvis fans that comment on my channel absolutely love Elvis, worship Elvis, and Elvis has changed their life. And because they agree with the book Child Bride, they believe everything that's written in the book Child Bride, doesn't mean they're bad fans. I'm sorry, I have to disagree with you there. Because all of you, whether you agree with Child Bride or not, are amazing Elvis fans, all of you. And if you worship or are a fan of Priscilla, I completely respect that. If you can't stand Priscilla and you just worship Elvis, I completely respect that, and I completely understand that. So, and Priscilla has made a lot of mistakes, and so has Elvis. They both made a lot of mistakes. Right, so let me just get to your comments. So, yes, KNS, I agree. It's very odd that Priscilla sued Cary Grant and not the author. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make any sense. And it is like she's trying to shush him. She's trying to quieten him. That's a good comment. Don't get me wrong. Priscilla hasn't done anything right along the way. She has clung to his name forever and still said things in the past, but at the same time kept Presley's dynasty going. Right. So I'm gonna disagree with you a bit on that, but I'll explain to you why. I don't fully disagree with you. I do think Priscilla has helped keep Elvis's legacy alive. I do think Priscilla helped Graceland's open as a living museum. I do believe that. But I also believe this: if Priscilla did not exist, if she just did not exist, Elvis would still be super famous today. I don't believe that she is the reason that his name is still alive. I don't think her opening Graceland is the reason people remember Elvis. I honestly believe that even if Gracelands did not exist and were sold off, Elvis today would still be massively famous. And I'll tell you why. Because his music and his talent and his charisma and his charm and the way that he imprinted himself on the world culture was there to stay. It wasn't there to stay because Priscilla helped. It wasn't there to stay because Graceland was open. This is my opinion as a fan. And now, do I think that opening Graceland has helped? Yes, of course I do. Do I think anyone that talks about Elvis has helped keep his legacy alive? Yes, of course they have. There's thousands of people that are keeping Elvis's legacy alive, including my channel, including all of the great Elvis channels that are on YouTube. We're all together, collectively, hundreds of thousands of people are helping keeping Elvis's legacy alive. Is it because of Priscilla? No way. No way. It's Priscilla's job to help preserve Elvis's memory because it's good for her. Yeah, but I do also think that it's passionate for her. She really wants to help keep Elvis's memory alive. Unfortunately, a lot of it is financial. So I'll just say that again. Do I think Graceland is the reason that people remember Elvis? Is the reason that he's still popular and famous today? No way. No way. Elvis Presley is the reason he's still famous today. Elvis. He is the reason. All of us are just cobwebs that are part of that cog. Right. It was Lisa Marie's daughter, Riley, who recently stopped the foreclosure sale of Grace. Yes, I've seen that. And I've posted a video of the judge, and it was very unexpected. The whole thing was just ridiculous, wasn't it? But do you know what? I will say this. It got everyone talking about Elvis again. I like that. Suddenly Graceland was brought to the limelight. I think that's great. I really do. And my wife's asked me for a cup of tea. I'm doing a live. There's pizza in the fridge. Yeah. My wife's 41 and she's having a lie-in. So you get what I'm saying to you. Whenever people say to me, "Oh, Priscilla's the reason Elvis's legacy is kept alive and the reason that Graceland was open," I just don't agree. I've just told you why. Elvis will always be the reason. Elvis all the way. Let's have a look. His endearing traits in many instances were the mirror images of characteristics that made him so difficult to bear at the time. He needed to control, for example, manifested itself positively in his tenderly protective and nurturing side, and exaggerated self-gratification brought on by his stardom and power was equaled and possibly surpassed by his legendary generosity. His double standard reflected the Southern tendencies to place a woman on a pedestal as a creature to be revered, almost worshipped. His egocentricity, when reversed, gave Elvis an almost supernatural ability to empathize. Elvis Presley was a man of many paradoxes. Alternatively, megalomaniacal, my God, what a word, megalomaniacal and humble, oversexed yet strangely prudish. There we are. That is just someone's comment off the Child Bride book, The Untold Story. Right. I'm just reading comments now. She would just tell us what she wanted, recalled Elvis's cook. Mary Jenkins, one time she said, I want a different cake every day of the week, but don't tell Mama, she'll put me on a diet. Okay. Let's go back. That one was a bit irrelevant. Let's see what else we can find. Here we go. Ooh, it's a nice big section. Right. On the outset, it must be noted that much of the material in the book about sexual awakening of Mrs. Presley relies on the account of Cary Grant, once part of Elvis' inner circle, and the veracity of his story has been questioned more than once. Now, I read this morning, that Priscilla, in her book Elvis and Me, where she refers to Cary Grant as being called Kurt, once there was this big argument that she's saying that Cary Grant tried to rape her, and that Elvis didn't allow him to be part of his inner circle anymore, and he was basically banned from hanging out with Elvis. But the book is saying that he did carry on being with Elvis, friends with Elvis, right until Elvis left Germany. So I read that this morning. Child Bride is never boring, and it certainly is more juicy than Mrs. Presley's own memoir, Elvis and Me. There are many fascinating issues discussed, in particular Elvis' unusual sexual psychology and the extent of Elvis and Priscilla's premarital sexual relationships is engrossing, while Priscilla's escalating seeds of doubt about Elvis's lack of faithfulness to her during the Hollywood years is well described as on-off screen relationships between the King and rising star Anne Margaret hots up. The author cleverly uses both direct passages of indirect sexual symbolism throughout the book and heighten the narrative, be it at bondage or high school, that shackled the teenager Priscilla to her ultra-feminine sexuality and her romantic master bedroom, which featured a full-poster bed, special dim lighting, and a mirrored ceiling. There is no doubt that at the time this symbolism outweighs other noteworthy preoccupations such as the flourishing skin care and perfume lines Priscilla promoted in the 1990s. Child Bride was also one of the first books to cover Elvis's relationship with Barbara Lee, who would later release her own book, The King, McQueen, and the Love Machine. There are detailed accounts of Priscilla's film career, including her little-known but eventful role starring alongside TV legend Michael Landon in Comeback, to her celebrated role as Jenna Wade in Super Soap Dallas, and her featuring as one of TV Guide's 10 Most Beautiful Women. And she was extremely beautiful. Arguably, a weakness in the book is Finstad's less than substantial account of the mother-daughter relationship between Priscilla and Lisa. It lists not as detailed as some of the accounts, but the tensions and angst felt sometimes between them does come through. Personally, I had expected a lot more on this subject. Suzanne Finstad, so the author, has an intricate portrait of a young girl who was thrust into a very unreal situation with the world's biggest superstar, a young woman who over time developed an immense inner self-confidence and business savvy that provided her with real power in an often superficial and cutthroat entertainment environment. While there are many sensational parts to her story, the author also outlines the impressive resilience and street smart that today typify the person who is Priscilla Presley. How one perceives these qualities in a person's process, which will differ often radically from person to person. So yeah, we all are going to have our own views on this book. However, there are many examples of qualities. One is the way Priscilla threw herself headfirst into filming of the comedy Naked Gun, a film with Bo Derek apparently declined because it was offbeat comedy requirements. The final result is a fitting testament to Presley talent. Okay, so this is praising her. I actually thought the films were quite funny. Do you remember them? Didn't they make 3 of them? Perhaps Paramount, though, is the way Priscilla, with the help of Jack Sodden, took the Elvis estate by the scruff of the neck and transformed it into a vibrant money-making machine regardless of anything else. Mrs. Presley is owed a big debt of gratitude for this initiative, although many fans today argue that EPE have become drunk on power and profit. Does Child Bride answer the question, who is Priscilla Presley? This is a very difficult question to answer, as do any of us ever fully know anyone else. Nevertheless, Suzanne Finstad offers a multi-layered look at Priscilla Presley, which provides more than a fair share of the jigsaw pieces that together reveal who the lady is. The book features a black and white photos, many candid from Bülow's family, and several interesting photos of the younger Elvis with fans in Germany, Paris during the army years. Child Bride is a thoroughly enjoyable book that will leave you questioning your perceptions of not only its major protagonist, but also her former husband, the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. Right, well, okay. So I can see it's a really interesting read. I think whether you hate her or love her, you're going to find that book very interesting. You'll probably be shouting at the book all the way through it as well. So I think there's many things written in that book that are going to upset people, but I also think there's many things written in that book that the Priscilla haters are going to absolutely love and go, ha, I told you so. I knew she was like that. I knew there was another side to her. She's so two-faced. I can't stand her. Yeah, I'm massively expecting that reaction as well. Now, I could go on and on, but we've been on 1 hour and 5 minutes. Now, until I read Child Bride from page to page, I can't properly comment on the book. But I do think there is a difference between the original story that we have all learned to get used to, that was told to us from Priscilla, probably starting from the book Elvis and Me. And that many of us Elvis fans, especially if we're Priscilla, people that really like Priscilla, have bought into the storyline that she was this sweet, innocent virgin that fell in love with Elvis, who was much older, that eventually moved to Germany, and that she was a victim because not to America, and that she was a victim because Elvis left her in Graceland and went off making his movies and was controlling and angry and forced her how to dress and how to do her hair and how to think, and that she was the victim, which I just think is complete rubbish. I think she had an amazing life. I will always accept that him being so unfaithful was very cruel, but she was unfaithful as well. You must try and balance it out. They were both being unfaithful to each other. They both made those massive mistakes. And you can't get away from that. So it's not all bad on Elvis. It's also bad on Priscilla. Now, I think there's a true version of what really went on going back to Germany right until the divorce and even after the divorce. Yes, I do. I don't think we're being told the truth. I think it's a mixture of facts that have been pieced together by Priscilla that suits her story, her narrative, to get fans on side. And I think the fans can tell that she's not saying the whole truth because the interviews keep changing. What I would love to see is Priscilla just to be honest and just say the truth, admit the mistakes, admit the affairs. Yes, she's going to talk about Elvis's unfaithfulness and that maybe he did have a bit of a temper. And yeah, he encouraged her and gave her his advice on how to dress. That's fine, but he never forced her. And what we want is a balanced truth of Elvis and Priscilla, what really went on right from 1959 to today. That's what we want, guys. And I'm sure there'll be other books like Child Bride that come out that are fascinating reading. And now, do I believe that all these things that in Child Bride are true? At the moment, no, I don't. I'm not a Child Bride supporter. Do I think it would be a good read? Yeah, I think it'd be an amazing read. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go. I want you to comment, good or bad. Even if you want to tell me off, please comment. Tell me exactly what you think about Child Bride, whether you think it's true or not, exactly what you think about the book Elvis and Me, if a lot of that, if you think it's truthful or lies. If you love Priscilla, please go ahead, make comments. If you can't stand Priscilla, still go ahead and comment, but please do it in a polite, friendly way. No swearing or nothing rude, please. Let's keep it civil. I know that this live will get loads and loads of comments and you will talk to each other on the comments. Please be nice to each other. We can all learn from this, guys. There's a lot to be learned from the comments. I love your comments. I really appreciate your support. Whilst I'm fixing my car engine, I'm not going to be making that many videos for about 4 or 5 days, but I will try and do one live a day. Have a wonderful day, KNS. He wasn't so controlling that he also had an affair with his karate instructor. Yep, I know, and the dance instructor. So I'm going to say goodbye, guys. Everyone's waking up. Thanks a lot. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks, KNS. Thanks, Hazel. And anyone that wakes up and watches this, good morning to you. I hope you enjoy it. Please send me some comments. I love those comments. I'm going to give you a wave. Thanks, guys.